I'm Lars Edusay. Welcome to Phi-Lars-ophy. I'm part of independent game design studio Level Up Labs, and these are my thoughts on games, design, economics, and other cool stuff. Today's topic is Piracy and the Four Currencies versus SimCity. So the entire heart of what I call my four currencies theory is that people are motivated by things other than money. And we can think of these in terms of different kinds of psychological currencies, quote unquote. So I propose the following four kinds of currencies. The first is money dollars, or M. The second is time dollars, or T. The third is pain in the butt dollars, or P. And the fourth is integrity dollars, or I. And the sum cost of all four of these currencies is what ultimately drives whether someone makes a decision. So let's talk about the different kinds of currencies. So money dollar requires no explanation. This is money in your pocket, money in your bank account. The second kind is time dollars, and this represents hours of your life. So whenever you are spending your time, this is the quote-unquote currency you're spending. So when you wait in line 3 hours for quote-unquote free hot dog, you're spending 0 money dollars, but you're spending 3 time dollars in terms of 3 hours of your life. And pain in the butt dollars represents putting up with frustration or pain or any kind of inconvenience or hardship. And then there's integrity dollars. And integrity dollars represents the moral cost to you of doing something you believe is wrong, or doing something you think is illegal, or taking any kind of risk of getting in trouble. And so a good example of that would be if you're an animal rights activist, you might see an integrity cost on buying a fur coat. On the other hand, if you're not an animal rights activist, you probably wouldn't associate an integrity cost with that purchase at all. And another example is, say, you could get something from a store for 0 money dollars if you were to shoplift it. But that's illegal, you might get in trouble, and hopefully you would believe that to be wrong, so that would come with an I dollar cost, an integrity cost, even if it doesn't come with a money dollar cost. So let's apply this to piracy. I strongly disagree with the way most AAA studios try to compete with piracy. In their minds, the only currency at play is money. So if our game costs money, $60 let's say, and the pirated version is free, then everyone's going to pirate it. So we have to just stop them by brute force, is their approach. My approach is to think, you know, that pirated version is not free, because it costs time dollars, you got to search for the torrent, it costs pain in the butt dollars because you're getting it from some sketchy site, you don't know that it doesn't have a virus, and if you're not some techie, you know, it probably is going to take you some time to figure out how to use this newfangled BitTorrent thing, even though us techies, you know, it's not a problem at all. And then, you know, there's actually an integrity cost. Now, admittedly, not for everyone. Some people who are just lifetime pirates aren't going to bat an eyelash about pirating a game. But there's a lot of people, myself included, who are like, I'm not sure that I want to pirate something. I want the developers to get money for this because I want to support them. And then at the same time, even if you don't think that there's anything wrong with piracy, you're still taking a risk. So you can see the I cost there in terms of the risk of getting in trouble. So the pirated version is obviously not free in terms of all four currencies. It's only free in terms of money. So let's go with SimCity as an example. So first of all, it costs 60 money dollars. Secondly, I have to sign up for an Origin account just in order to buy the game. So that's a pain in the butt dollar cost. And also a small time dollar cost. Next, I need to download the game, so that's a time dollar cost. And then I also have to deal with all of EA's digital rights management, copy protection basically, or DRM, which is their software add-ons they make to check that I'm not some sort of pirate. Now with SimCity, what they've added recently is a requirement that you always be online to play the game. So this is frustrating in and of itself because it's basically a single-player game. I know it has multiplayer features, but this game traditionally has been single-player. And if I want to play it, say, on an airplane, I can't. If I want to play it when my internet goes out because my internet service provider sucks, I can't because I'm not online. On top of that, I've got to deal with the fact that their online service at launch was terrible and is still terrible. So I go in, I start playing my game, and then the server drops and I can't play anymore. So I can only play when EA has its act together. Furthermore, I'm going along, I'm building my cool city, I save it on my cloud saves online, and then the servers crash and it deletes my city, and it trashes my cloud save file. Not only is that a huge pain in the butt cost, But that is all of those time dollars, those hours of my life that I have spent making that city are now gone. So you have just deleted all of that stuff, and now I have lost that time. Okay, so in terms of money, pain in the butt, and time, SimCity is really expensive. Let's compare it to the pirated version. So, no money, first of all. It's free. Secondly, there's some pain in the butt and time associated with navigating shady torrent sites, finding out if you can get a version that doesn't have a virus or is broken, and stuff like that. And then you have to download the game, and that's about it. So I think another thing that bears mentioning is that EA's strategy was to actually raise the pain in the butt dollar cost for pirates. And then people would be like, oh, well, it's impossible to pirate it because of this magical technology, so let's pay for it instead. The problem is that doesn't work. What inevitably happens is that some pirate takes on the task of getting in there, hacking, and removing all of the restrictive stuff. So what winds up happening is that the pirated version of the game sometimes is of higher quality than the legal version because it doesn't have any of this intrusive stuff. And this is something we're already seeing. A lot of EA correspondents have said that, you have to have the server stuff. The game won't work without it. We're offloading all these calculations to the server. And it turns out that that was basically a lie. And it turns out that pirates are reverse engineering this. They're fixing it. And within a couple of days or weeks, I'm sure we will have full single-player offline save and load functionality on the desktop, but only in the pirated version of the game. And people are going to be driven to piracy. So you stack up the costs side by side and compare them, and the costs in the first three currencies for piracy is just cheaper than SimCity. But we have to square this with an interesting fact. Right now, people are paying all of the costs in terms of money, time, and pain in the butt to get SimCity from EA. So we have to ask ourselves, what is driving them to do this? Well, to make that decision, it must be in their mind cheaper to get it from EA than from piracy. So the first possibility is that, you know what? They're really patient. Time isn't a big deal for them. So the threat of losing their city and all the time dealing with the DRM and stuff like that, it's not a problem. I've got plenty of time. So that goes away. But we still got this huge pain in the butt dollar cost. So maybe these people, they really don't mind being bothered and they don't mind being frustrated. So, let's throw away that too. So if we throw away all of the pain in the butt dollar cost too, for this incredibly patient, incredibly, tolerant person, you've still got the fact that they're forking over money for something because the pirated version is free. And so that's really got to come down to one thing, which is the difference in the integrity cost. And keep in mind, this is subjective. This depends on each person. But for those people who are buying SimCity, my best guess is the reason they're buying it is because despite being mistreated, despite having their time wasted by EA, they still are so principled that they would rather fork out money and deal with all of this crap than pirate a game because they think piracy is wrong. So if we have these uber principled people, or just uber patient, uber tolerant people who are willing to go through the service and still fork over money for EA, and there's this many of them, imagine how many more there would be if you lowered the amount of crap you had to deal with so that you didn't have to capture only the most absolutely super principled people possible. What if you open things up to the people who are only kind of principled, or the people who are sort of principled but really just care about good service? Because if you remove DRM and focus on customer service, you can actually create an experience that is less painful and takes less time than piracy. And for a lot of people, that alone is worth their time and their money. So when I say things like this, people often accuse me of justifying piracy. And that's not true at all. I do not approve of piracy. I'm a game developer. I need people to buy my games and pay money for them legally, or else I'm out of a job. So I absolutely do not approve of piracy. I think it's wrong. And so given the choice between paying for SimCity or pirating a version of the game that actually works, my principles will say the integrity cost is too high. I'm not going to pirate it, but at the same time, I'm not going to pay the money, pain in the butt, and time dollar cost, so I'm going to do neither. And that brings me to our game, Defender's Quest, Valley of the Forgotten, which is a story-driven tower defense RPG kind of game. And we have taken every decision, we hope, to lower the time, pain in the butt, and integrity dollar cost of the purchase so that we can capture as many customers as possible. So we try to make our website as easy to use as possible. It's supposed to answer all of your questions you might have about the game so that you can remove any uncertainties. We have downloadable demos so you can try it out and see if it works on your game. We have a browser-based demo so you can just play it right away and see if it works, and you don't even have to install anything, so you don't have to spend any extra time trying it out. When you're done with the demo, you can export your save file and import it into the game so you don't lose the sunk cost of the 2 hours you spent playing the demo. And a lot of stuff like that. So we just really do our best to try to respect the customer, and that way we're going to capture as many of the people who care about these things as possible. We're not going to get the people who still choose to pirate the game, and a lot of people pirate Defender's Quest. I don't think that's right, but I'm not going to spend any time trying to stop them, especially if doing so is going to raise the cost for my legitimate customers who I have nothing but respect for. So, that's what I think. Thank you very much. This has been Phi-Lars-ophy. I'm with Level Up Labs, and I hope you have a great day.